Okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit about soils and some of my concepts on soils. Um, Here in the Steppe Garden, we use a mix because we came in and created these berms, and we had to put something back in here. So what we have in here is a combination of materials. A lot of it's this real coarse aggregate, which creates a lot of pore spaces and a lot of oxygen. But having different soil particle sizes mixed together that don't create concrete is important, because you need oxygen spaces. Plants from the dry steppe regions of the world, a lot of the plants that survive best for us come from mineral rich soils. There's a lot of talk and a lot of concepts about creating really organic rich and treating with compost teas and working on, adding and increasing the organic matter to your garden soils, which is fantastic when you take a look at a garden from the sense of a vegetable garden, a food crop garden, or bigger agricultural ideas. So a lot of those ideas and concepts of having very high organic matter soils are based on an agricultural model and not necessarily an ecological model. A lot of the plants from the steppe region worlds come from peat-to-cal soils. And the peat-to-cal soils means that it's essentially sort of an eroded mountain range. So there's really high levels of organic material or inorganic material, these rocks, these pebbles, and very little organic activity. Now that doesn't mean that there's not a lot happening in the root zone. So underneath you have roots of plants. You do have the eventual buildup of some organic matters, but the base structure is really not decomposing organic material. So there's still fungal things growing on, there's still bacterial things. That's why the importance of having a lot of diversity in your planting types and different plants from different families really makes the ecology. With most legumes, you have those beneficial bacteria that fix nitrogen, and then as those plants die off or those parts of those roots are disturbed, they release nitrogen back to the soil. So having plants that have a wide range of use and ability in these areas is really important. But for me, for gardening in the intermontane region and gardening in steppe zones, you've got to have that really crumbly, oxygen-rich soil. So when I say there's aggregate, this soil is largely either a pea gravel or what we locally call a squeegee, which just kind of more refers to the particle size of these aggregates that are in there. It's mixed with sand and loam, and less than 10%. We tried to get 5% organic matter in here. So the organic matter is really minimal, but it does help water, and there's still organic matter in peat-to-cal soils, but it's just not as much. The intensity of what happens in some of those really organic based soils, those agricultural model based soils, is really difficult for a lot of steppe and dryland growing plants to survive in. They just can't handle that supercharge of moisture and nutrition. So having a free draining soil with opportunity for oxygen and the ability for plant roots to dive deep is pretty important in creating a successful dryland garden. You can dryland garden on heavy clay soils as well, but again, you're going to look at your plant mix and look for things that can punctuate that heavy clay soil, which will then create some of those opportunities for pore space, for oxygen, and for the plants to get in and to work with those other plants as well.